Here's the creators. It's here again. I'm David. This is Jake, and with us today is
Addison.
Addison. Thanks for joining us, Addison.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. So you were just talking before. Oh, yeah. So I got to do more of an intro. Andrea said we need to do better. No, but what is the podcast?
What is the podcast?
Everything creator.
Everything creator. So music, art, poetry, short films, but also other things too.
We were talking about this at Revamp.
Yes.
I want to push the definition.
I gave it some thought in the car.
So let's talk about that. So what we were talking about was like I wanted to find the line, like what is no longer, because the rough definition of like artistry and like art is like, oh, you have to, imagination, and it has to be creative. You have to make something. You have to, So then I was throwing at him like, well, what about this? How about video editing? What about this?
Yeah, that counts.
And it counts, right?
It counts video editing. For sure.
But is it where's the line? Where's the line, Addison?
Did we wait? I think we talked because like there's that famous, I guess it's a meme where somebody just put a banana on a wall like with duct tape, and they were like, "This is art."
Yeah.
And what do you think about that? You know about that, right?
I know about people doing like white canvas and not having just a whole white
Okay,
canvas.
so what do you, or like a urinal, like they'll put like a toilet. Yeah, like one famous art piece is like a toilet.
Maybe if the urinal is fancy, maybe
is it art?
Like
That's true.
Like a backsplash with some tile cuts.
It could be artistic.
It could be artistic. I will say tile setting could be an art. It definitely is.
Blank canvas with a banana.
I don't consider it art.
Interesting.
No, I don't. I mean, but maybe.
And you're obviously hating on it.
I don't think. Okay, well, I think some people.
Jeremy Howard would consider it art.
Yeah, I wouldn't ask him.
I was thinking. Okay, I wrote on my phone literally like 4 words because that's the extent of the notes that I made for this, which is terrible, but also, that's all I have. So I was thinking about it because I feel like for art, if you compare art to like expression, it's like creative expression, right? And and you think about it, I don't know, to me it seems like a language. Art is kind of like a language, and language has structure. And it has and kind of like if I were just to mumble something or somebody was like,
Yeah.
I mean, they're expressing themselves, but if they said I love you, then it's like it has like way more meaning behind it because you're following like the rules of the of like the structure of the language, right? So, and then like there's, take it a step beyond that, and there's like poems, there's all kinds of different things that the English language or any language, right? You can have beautiful works of art just from language, but I feel like music and art and everything is kind of similar in that you have to have some kind of structure at least. Otherwise, it doesn't have form.
So you talk about like mumbling and stuff. It sounds like what you're saying is that the interpretation and what people infer from it is part of what defines it as art, which is a very dangerous thing to say. So I want to make sure that you're saying that.
I mean, I think it just has to have structure. I think you can have simple art. Like you can have something that maybe somebody, maybe a caveman has never seen art before, and they think the banana duct taped to the wall is like, okay, you know what?
Whoa. Be careful with those banana people.
Banana people.
I mean, I have people that would probably say that's art.
All right.
So the guy who
I guess I got to be careful.
Go ahead, say you're on.
No, don't say it. No, we want to be inclusive on this podcast. The guy who put the banana on the wall, it meant something to him.
Did it though, or
Yes.
was it a meme?
So
He
no.
might have been trying to troll us.
How about blank canvas
I
guy?
think he was.
Come on.
Yeah, trolling. Yeah.
It can literally be. So think of Banksy or whatever. Like some of his art is like, oh, this is an art piece that will shred itself and destroy itself or whatever. There's also performance art. So it's like, are we saying that the way what you infer from my art is part of what determines whether it's art. That it's not art within itself necessarily.
I don't know if I would say that it's dependent on like what somebody else necessarily infers from it. I think it just has to have some kind of form.
I don't, but
because
I don't know what that means. Because
I don't either.
Right.
I don't either. Like I feel like, but if you look at everything, artistic, it has
right.
Like, and there's almost like a hierarchy of form, because like the more complex art is, like it almost has to be balanced with like the levels, like a pyramid, it has to be like balanced with the levels underneath it, because the more complex it is, it has to follow the rules for like everything else. I mean, like if you're thinking about like a really complex orchestral piece or something, like they all have to be in time with each other, all the instruments.
I don't know.
They all have to, but you can have like a really simple song that has like, just a really, really basic one part, it's just a melody, right? And there's nothing else, like no harmony, nothing. And it's still art, but it still has like form. So like, I think there's like a hierarchy of like, the more complex something is, the more like structure it kind of has to follow.
Let's test this. So we could go like video. I'm going to go. So marketing. I talked to Andrea and I want her on the podcast again because I want to talk about something that I used to really love. I still really respect, which is the art of selling people and things. The art of persuasion, the art of marketing.
It's like conversation skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like marketing as a discipline is really complex. And I believe that's an art, but it's very formulaic. Okay, there's a right way to do it, there's a wrong way to do it. It's not I don't even know if it's creative. Okay, so that's a good question. Some things aren't creative, but they're art. So if I reproduce something, is that art now? Marketing, for instance, and the psychology behind it, it's an art form. It's a science. It's very interesting in that way, but it's now a set science. There's a way to do it. Video editing, there's a way to do it. People that edit shows.
Yeah.
Okay, there may not be as much creative. Yeah, it's an art, but it's an art that someone else formed,
right.
And now people are just regurgitating it, doing it the same way, and that can go into like instrumental stuff as well.
Editors and video people like that, I do consider them artists because they even, and especially if they're able to have liberties to make it into a style or knowing when to fade into a cool shot.
Right, but what if they don't? What if they're following a formula?
Even if they're still follow a formula, maybe that's going back to like simple music,
right?
Just playing a regular C to an E major, like your cowboy chords.
Yeah,
they call the beginner chords.
The four chord, the famous four. We were doing that the other day.
Yeah, funky jam on those. And so it's probably the same when it comes to someone who's doing video editing. Doing the simple part. Maybe, I don't know.
So you think that's art, the four chords everyone uses?
Yeah, it can be because they could use it for songwriting still. Bob Dylan used those four chords all the time. A lot of other players, Ed Sheeran does as well.
I think even a cover can be, it's very like what you were saying as far as people put different things, even if you sing something a little bit different, but you're playing the same chords,
right?
You're still expressing you,
it's
like you're still transformative, even if it's not as transformative as like some covers where they like completely will change it, like completely different genre, like revamp that tune,
I mean, so here's an interesting place to go: copyright law. So there's actual in law a determination of when you're too similar and too derivative of something else to get credit for it and to be able to monetize. So think of it like covers. If you make a cover of someone, if you take a Beatles song, you could just do a cover of it, and that is like, okay, that's their work. People would say. Okay, but of course there's ways to remix things and sample things that's transformative, and then you can start arguing whether this is my work or not. So that's kind of part of how I think about
like sampling. Like sampling? Right. Yeah.
So sampling can be, that's often transformative. That you take something from someone else. Of course, we know there's a great YouTube video about how nothing is new. Mm-hmm. Songs have been repeating themselves since, Bach. But I mean, if I cover someone to the point that I couldn't even sell this song as my own, could I call that my art at that point? It might be transformative just by nature of it being my voice and my different sounding guitar. Yeah. But is it art? Have I put the imagination into it and all that to be able to call it an art for?
Personally, I think that fundamentally, if you are transforming it even a little bit, it is art. But copyright law might not agree with you. But I think
you would say it's your art.
I would say if somebody's playing a cover at a campfire and they're just putting their spin on how they sing it, I think that's transformative. I think, it's not transformative enough for a copyright law to maybe agree with you, but I think fundamentally,
and then of course copyright law is about someone made that work originally and they deserve the money from it. But you can definitely and that's a lot of music as well. You're making your own art, but you really gotta give props to and I think you all musicians have to admit, I take from this person.
Definitely
of your style.
Yeah,
and then that's how it kind of starts for you. You hear someone you like, you play their stuff, and you develop from there. You learn the covers. Most musicians, that's how they do it.
Definitely. Yeah.
Addison, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I'm re-welcoming you. What are you into? What are your art forms, first of all?